The universe has been around for nearly 14 billion years and it's full of really cool stuff. The second coolest thing I have found in the universe after playing an acoustic guitar at a party is physics. There is too much amazing stuff to fit in just one short video. This is the history of physics. I guess it's not really, but pretend it is. It's more just a collection of bits I nicked off Wikipedia. The first proper interesting thing we'll be looking at is the shape of the Earth. A lot of people would argue that it's flat, the principal argument being because it is. While this sounds like a pretty solid argument at first glance, there is a surprisingly large amount of evidence to say otherwise. The ancient Greeks believed the Earth to be round, one of the reasons being that if a boat sails away, it disappears bottom first. An ancient Greek by the name of Eratosthenes measured the difference in distance between two pillars at the same time of day in Egypt, and he used the difference between these two pillars to measure the circumference of the Earth with amazing accuracy for the time. There were many other amazing Greek scientists such as Pythagoras and Archimedes. However, the Romans came and took over. They were very close-minded and disliked physics, much like a modern biologist. Eventually, the Roman Empire fell, and its mum was being really fussy and wouldn't put a plaster on its knee because she's already said to stop messing 3 times and wasn't having any of it. Not much physics happened in the West for about 1,000 years after that. In the East, everyone was having a jolly good time because some bloke called Muhammad came about and made everything proper nice. Islam was formed and they proper loved science, so much that they got all the stuff that the Greeks did and chucked a bit more on top, like algebra and that. Eventually, Europe proper liked the idea of a renaissance, so they thought they might have their own. They also did loads of really nice stuff, like Christopher Columbus, who used his knowledge of the Earth being round and accidentally found America. There was also another bloke, Copernicus, who figured out that the Sun was actually the centre of the solar system and drew up a really good map of it too. Ooh, aye. Eventually, someone made a telescope, then some class lad called most notable for being featured in a Queen song, came and made it better. Then it was like, whoa guys, check out this solar system. And everyone else was like, whoa, slow down, that's hazy that mate. And it was like, check out the moons on Jupiter lads, whoa. And they were like, we're putting you away for hazy. And spent the rest of his days locked in his house. A fair few years after this, Isaac Newton came along. He hated talking to people and wanted to just stay inside all day, much like the feeling you get when you enter a classroom full of biologists. On his own, he discovered gravity, calculus, which was also independently invented by Gottfried Leibniz at the same time, the album cover for Dark Side of the Moon, and many more amazing things. So began the age of classical physics. A great time, an amazing period with loads of cool stuff coming up in physics. And then, eventually, the Industrial Revolution came, where they did even more cool stuff in physics. In the end of this era, a guy named Nikola Tesla went absolutely mental with inventing proper cool stuff. He made lots of advancements in his lifetime, such as designing alternating current, hydroelectric power plants, and the Tesla coil. You've probably heard of Elon Musk's Space Tesla, named after him for being such a world-changing scientist. Another exciting discovery during this time was the Rutherford scattering experiment. People used to believe an atom to look like a plum pudding, which was a ball of positive charge with negatively charged electrons spread throughout. One day, Ernest Rutherford decided to test this by firing electrons at a gold sheet. He found some of the electrons to bounce back, which went against the plum pudding theory. This made them have a right good think about the model of an atom, until they came up with the model of the electrons orbiting the nucleus. This was a groundbreaking discovery. Then we get to Einstein. Einstein is one of the most well-known scientists of all time. He came up with loads of groundbreaking new theories. He found that Newton's laws didn't work very well with big things. So he came up with general relativity to try and figure that out. He also came up with special relativity, figured out that light was made up of small particles called photons, and also discovered that mass can be converted into energy. Overall, he was a pretty cool guy, not as cool as my mate Brad, who walks around in public playing music on his phone speaker, but pretty cool nonetheless. And then we come to the 20th century and modern physics. Loads of stuff has happened in this time. There's way too much to fit in just a few minutes, and I'm way too lazy to try. The universe is beautiful, nearly as beautiful as a full Greg stamp card, and physics is the way of understanding it, which is probably what makes it so exciting. Maybe I also like it because my parents would be disappointed in me if I'd chosen something else like sociology. But still, it's full of loads of really cool things, and some of them are nearly as cool as wearing sunglasses indoors.